Hello everybody, just like you saw in the thumbnail, XRP, Zebec, Cross River, and Fednow. This sounds unbelievable, I get it, but this is going to be the most important XRP Zebec video you have ever seen, bar none. Rue and I have cracked the code. You definitely want to stick around to the end of the outline. Make time to listen to the entire outline. Yes, there's chapters, but guess what? If you don't have all the time in the world, come back. Hit the pause button. Be old school. Bust in that VHS tape. Bust in that Betamax. Treat it however way you want it. Kids are bothering you in the background. Take time. Make time. You definitely will want to make time for this one. Have you not seen your portfolio blasting off? Zebec is now officially my second top performer out of 50 cryptocurrencies that I have in my portfolio. My goodness gracious, great balls of fire. So with that said, consider smashing that like if you haven't done so already. And with that also said, back with the brother Rue.
Bam.
We're going to get into all the alpha on this one. Yeah, non-stop alpha. And with that also said, Rue, take it away on our introduction of what we have for you all.
So guys, this is amazing stuff. Zebec, XRP, X Money, like this really is the most important connector video to XRP and Zebec that you're going to see. Okay, and shout out to some guys in the community, which we're going to highlight them right now. And I'm just going to get into it. Very exciting stuff.
If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to DCENT Wallet. It's just a few taps. You can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your DCENT Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure.
So here we see Blue Collar Crypto. Shout out to Blue Collar Crypto. He made this post a couple days ago. Did anyone notice that Zebec went live with their Telegram on-ramping? Okay, as in like yesterday or today. Check it out on their website. Coincidental timing for Uphold to announce their direct deposit on-ramping the day ZBCN goes live with their own. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. So now if you look at this on the Telegram, Zebec says, buy ZBCN with card. Buy and trade ZBCN anywhere you are. Use our Telegram bot to purchase with your credit card or explore full list of SECs and DEX where ZBCN is available. Okay, and then he gives the other posting, and this was May 30th, by the way, so only a couple days ago. We are launching direct deposits on Uphold. And yes, it comes with rewards, okay? 4% cash back in XRP, okay? Now, Max, you made a comment earlier about payroll with this, right?
Absolutely.
You want to add that?
Yeah, you want me to jump into that part right now?
Yeah, go right ahead, bro. As far as like payroll.
So for one, we know about obviously ADP and payroll. We know about a lot of these key things and why they matter. For me, it's just as simple as this. It's deposits. It's direct deposits. If you think about like what we're unwinding here, it all makes sense about the infrastructure. So again, debit cards. How many people have literally direct deposit from what you have from, directly into your checking account? Your checking account, that card is tied into your checking account. So all this stuff matches up, whether it's ADP, so on and so forth. It's direct deposit, and then to be able to earn a yield on Uphold, from what we discovered, shout out to Michael Cornwell as well in the community, 4% yield on your XRP. I mean, all this is adding up, and this is not even getting into the real thick of it at all.
Right. So, like, long story short, like direct deposit directly connected to your payroll. And right after this, Blue Collar Crypto makes another comment, which like mind blown for me. Uphold is Zebec's connection to XRP and the ODL, on-demand liquidity. Boom! Boom, right? So that really kind of brought everything together to me because I was sitting down thinking about this, right? I'm like, okay, well, direct deposits, just like Max said, okay, that's your payroll. But then, okay, the reason you can buy ZBCN anywhere with this card is because it's connected to the ODL, okay? That's the only reason you can do that. So with them announcing this on the same day, it's more than coincidence. And I just want to kind of take us back and understand for anybody who might be new, what is ODL, right? What is ODL? What is X money? And we're going to go over that right now. Ronk basically told me, okay, what is ODL? So in the context of Ripple and XRP, cryptocurrency, on-demand liquidity, now often referred to as Ripple payments, is blockchain-based financial solution developed by Ripple to facilitate fast, cost-effective, and efficient cross-border payments. ODL leverages XRP, Ripple's native digital asset, as a bridge currency to enable real-time liquidity. Okay, that's very important. Real-time liquidity for international money transfers, eliminating the need for pre-funded accounts, nostro-vostro accounts, in destination currencies. Below is a detailed explanation of ODL and its relationship with Ripple and XRP. So, okay, this is also important. ODL is a service within RippleNet Global Payments Network designed to streamline cross-border transactions for financial institutions, banks, and payment providers. It addresses inefficiencies in traditional correspondent banking, such as high fees, slow settlement times, often 3 to 5 days, and a need for pre-funded accounts in foreign currencies. By using XRP, ODL enables instantaneous settlements within seconds, significantly lower costs, typically fractions of a cent per transaction. So here's some things that kind of make it really, really apparent to me, okay, that this connects Zebec, and we'll bring this along with a whole bunch of different things here, okay. ODL uses XRP as an immediate currency to facilitate cross-border payments. The process can be broken down into the following steps. Payment initiation. A financial institution, the sender, sends cross-border payment through RippleNet's API, specifying the amount and destination currency. Currency exchange to XRP. The sender's fiat currency, USD or USDC, right, is converted into XRP via a digital asset exchange or a liquidity provider connected to Ripple. Transfer via the XRP ledger. XRP is transferred across the ledger, a decentralized blockchain designated for fast and secure transactions, to a digital asset exchange in the recipient's country. This step generally takes 3 to 5 seconds. So this kind of brings in Uphold, right? Making that Uphold transaction, like that Uphold connection, very important there. So it seems to me like they've now connected ZBCN to Uphold in a way that the ledger works for it. And then we have that kind of ZBCN part coming in here, where you can now convert that to ZBCN, XRP, or whatever. The XRP is converted into the recipient's local currency, e.g. MXN for Mexico, or ZBCN, or whatever, right? Through another exchange or liquidity provider. And then payment completion. The converted fiat currency is dispersed to the recipient's bank or financial institution completing the transaction. Okay, so next here. This is from Moonrock. Shout out to Moonrock. Hear me out. X money at Cross River Bank using the XRP protocol. Banks issue debit cards to account for holders' physical and digital cards. Who has debit cards working utility? ZBCN, connect the dots. XRP and ZBCN partnership supplies X-Money users with real-time use of funds. Okay, and this is from Nima. I'm gonna say Algae. Breaking. X-Money bank accounts will be held at Cross River Bank. X-Money is a financial technology company, not a bank. Bank accounts are held at Cross River Bank, member FDIC. So now breaking down what Cross River Bank is, this is going to be kind of juicy. Gronk says Cross River Bank has been connected to Ripple's XRP since 2014.
Boom. Boom. As we always would say, back with the brother Rube. And then we go, boom. There's a reason why we can do that. Boom. Because this is another boom.
There we go. And so they say when it became one of the first U.S. banks to integrate Ripple's protocol for real-time international payments, particularly between the U.S. and Western Europe. This partnership leverages Ripple's blockchain technology for faster, cheaper, and more secure cross-border transactions. Bypassing traditional correspondent banking systems, the bank uses Ripple's infrastructure to offer instant, compliant, and cost-effective money transfers for its business and personal banking customers. Additionally, Cross River Bank's role as a partner for X's money payment system, which holds all associated bank accounts, has sparked speculations between a potential XRP integration. And we already know it, they haven't. But here's the important part. Cross River Bank also collaborates with other crypto-related entities like Coinbase and Circle. Now that ties everything in full circle in that what if Circle is purchased by Coinbase or XRP? Both mentioned, right?
And not also to forget, just in case you guys don't know about this, you can look this up yourself. Coinbase has, we talk about derivatives market, Coinbase has XLM, Stellar XLM, because some people are always saying Stellar ties to Circle, but what about the XLM, the native coin of Stellar? True. So Coinbase has Stellar XLM silverback derivatives. Think about that and think about how this all adds up, especially with what Rue was mentioning in regard to Coinbase and Circle. Just throw that in there.
And then who is one of Zebec's biggest partners? Circle. Okay?
Right.
And they've been told us this. Simon, the COO, has told us in multiple different spaces, hey, Circle, they cleared the way for us for this. They cleared the way for us for regulations. They cleared the way for us to purchase PayBridge. Circle's been there with them 100% of the way. So now, looking at that, we go look at X-Money, right? And we see X-Money, Elon Musk's X platform payment system, is actually a digital wallet, right? So this works very, very well. And payment system developed by X Corp, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. Under Elon Musk's leadership, it aims to integrate financial services into the X platform, enabling peer-to-peer payments, fund storage, and seamless transactions with a vision to create an everything app similar to WeChat.
Okay, so he brought up the whole thing of WeChat. If you go to my X, and granted, I will get to the point where I'm posting a lot more on X. It's been about kind of like a 3-month hiatus. I haven't really posted a lot. I've been sharing a lot of other people's info, which is great. But if you go to my pinned article about Ripple and Quant for the Everything app, you'll see how this even adds up that much more, because when Ruben mentions WeChat, there's a key discovery in regard to the whole thing of WeChat and obviously things like Quant over ledger integration and whatnot, which is a big article in itself. You're more than welcome to take a look into that. But to me, this pounds home everything, especially with the X platform and of course, quote, everything app, WeChat. Again, that article is literally called Ripple Quant, the Everything app.
Now I have 2 pieces of information here that are also going to even be mind-blowing. allows users to store funds, make instant transfers, and pay creators directly on the platform. Partnerships with Visa for real-time payment processing. We know since Zebec is built on Solana, Solana is partnered with Visa. Zebec is too in its own way, but it's an even double partnership.
And not to mention Stellar has both Visa and MasterCard.
So via Visa Direct and Cross River Bank for account management. Expected to support transactions like tipping creators and potentially offering banking features such as high yield accounts. We can zoom into this. Sam went on a podcast. Shout out to Paragem Podcasts. Now, if you listen to this description, this goes into exactly what we've been talking about, and this shows that it's probably always been the plan that they're going to partner with XRP with Ripple, because this sounds exactly like Ripple. Zebec is a startup that aims to change the way money is transferred. The company wishes to improve the processes for paying personnel, managing subscriptions, investing tokens. The Zebec's protocol long-term goal is to facilitate huge direct financial transactions between sender and receiver. That's it right there, right? Eliminating third party. This is it. This includes the removal of all third-party individuals. The company's main goal is to create a system in which workers get their payments instantaneously.
Or by the second.
By the second. So I'm assuming this host got that information from Sam. And again, this is all the things that we just heard about here with Ripple on-demand liquidity, right? Eliminating the need for pre-funded accounts, Nostro accounts, and destination currencies. And and I think somewhere here it also said eliminating the need for like third party or middlemen, right? So to me, it seems like this has always been the plan. And Zebec is a huge part of that plan, okay? Later on in another video, we're gonna share a spaces in which someone spoke about XRP wallets and the Zebec wallets. But more on that later. Now I'm gonna hand it over to Max's part of the show.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the way I look at it is like this. On a simple Google search, Cross River Bank, ADP. Think about this. This is kind of eye-opening. While Cross River Bank and ADP are obviously distinct entities, Cross River Bank is a technology-driven bank focused on providing fintech solutions and infrastructure. ADP, as we know, is a global provider of payroll. Well, no duh at this particular point, right? They specialize in HR, tax services, you get the gist. While the two don't have a direct partnership, I want you to think about this. The two utilizes, whether it's Cross River Bank and so on. So Cross River Bank utilizes ADP for some of its own internal HR and payroll needs. Now, a lot of people are going to state, well, that could be pretty much any business. Yeah, just hold that thought for a moment. So it says they may also partner with ADP to provide payment solutions to their fintech clients. So usually from what we discovered numerous times, Rue, when we do our deep dives and so on, especially if we ask Google or AI will immediately point out if there's nothing, like a nothing burger. It'll just literally be like, no, nothing's going on here, period. But here you see that there's a little something there, isn't there? Now, is this it? Well, if it was it, that would be fluff, right? We don't do no fluff here. Let's get more into it. As we pull this up, this is my own key findings, so I hope you do appreciate it. We're always citing Smoke, right? Well, this time we're citing us. How about that? So, shout out to our brother Smoke. Yes. Crossriver.com. If you've ever been there, this gets incredibly interesting because it mentions local payment networks. Now, you guys know me. I cover a lot of quant. If you look into quant, what stands at the forefront for quant? Well, things like SEPA, right? So it says real-time domestic payment networks have already transformed the speed and security of transactions within individual countries. So we're not just talking about like a few key ones might use this. When we talk about standards, especially ISO TC 307, and that's the quant network standard, you can understand how SEPA, right, plays a big role in that because it's Europe's single euro payments area, aka SEPA, right? So you have prominent examples of all this. UK's faster payment system, again, SEPA, Singapore's Paynow. Think about Singapore. We know about, for example, the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Shout out to Jesse, Apex Crypto Consulting, NFA. We cover some new recent things about MAS, right? And if that video hasn't been out there yet, you'll see it here soon on my channel and also his. The other thing goes on to mention is, you guys are wondering about the United States. So even the United States, world's largest real-time payment network. In the United States, 2 key networks have recently emerged. And they reference the clearinghouse, RTP network. What does RTP stand for? RTP stands for real-time payments. Back to what Rue was talking about with the ODL example. Ripple's on-demand liquidity, that was the old name of the product, but still, even people like myself still refer to it as on-demand liquidity. Well, it's now rebranded to Ripple Payments. Think about the terminology because sometimes we can get confused in translation. Now, this gets really, really good. So it goes on to mention this other part that I want to mention in regard to SEPA. It says, looking ahead, more bilateral agreements likely to emerge, each building on success of prior collaborations. Countries such as Australia and Singapore with their strong trade relations. Think about Australia. If you have researched Australia, you know that already their whole entire country is already on board with ISO TC 307 standard. That's quant network standard because, again, quant network, you have Gilbert Verdian, his ties to Australia, and of course his ties to obviously the UK moving forward. But what about like the US? So the linkages, right? Blockchain, the link. So while the US might explore partnerships with Europe's SEPA or the UK's FPS, which is faster payments services, I believe, right? Over time, a patchwork of real-time payment networks may evolve. All right, so where do we see this specifically evolve? So the other thing is, of course, there's barriers for all this, and that's one of the reasons why we are all pointing this out. So, this is not highlighted. We're going to just mention this for a brief moment. I want you to think about these concepts of monetization because in reality, monetization can mean so many different things. All right, so when Rue's citing, and this other guy, Blue Collar Crypto, shout out to him. If you happen to be watching this, we do appreciate you, brother. And it's the whole idea of earning yield. Yield in itself is a form of monetization, okay? So back to this, because it's going to pound home the research. Barriers to global banking integration. According to Cross River, since that's what we're talking about, ISO 222 payments. And if you're wondering how long ago this was updated on March 9th, okay? So in reality, just a few months ago, okay? So straight from Cross River, it talks about this. So Cross River's ISO 222 payment channel provides you with a way to send all your instructions in one single file format. Well, think about the importance of ISO 222 messaging, the ones that are compliant with that. As we know, with Zebec, they are apparently, according to one of the recent X spaces, they're going to apply to be ISO 222 compliant. Yeah, of course you're going to do that. You are in compliance of it, technically speaking, already. You just need to get approved when they run that audit. You guys are familiar with things like CERTIC audits. They're going to have to go through a particular one with ISO, but I think that's inevitable at this point.
Right, because if they're already using USDC, they have to be compliant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course there's criteria, there's a time frame of how long that's going to be. It might take 30 days, 90 days, and so on, but I think that's inevitable. Now, here's the point I want to get into. So the system processes input files from you, record financial movements, and sends payment status reports. What about payroll status reports? You get where we're going with this. Again, updates and so on. So again, here's the focus. Cross River, okay, please pay attention to this, supports these payment methods / rails. ACH, which stands for automated clearinghouse. Like even Stronghold SHX has a plug to Notcha with their automated clearinghouse, right? This matches up as well. Direct debit, this matches up with what we shared at the beginning of the outline about the whole thing of actual debit cards, Zebec debit cards, whether it's Visa, MasterCard, and so on. Fedwire, the old system, the old legacy system. See how this all comes together? And of course, where it says RTP, that stands for real-time payments, and Fednow. Now, say what you want, Rue. This is really, really eye-opening. Because when we talk about Fednow, well, that's supposed to be, again, 24/7, 365, as they advertise, faster payments, counsel, and basically, everybody getting paid supposedly instantaneous. But payroll would play a huge factor with that because we already have that example of Cross River, the XRP plug. I think Blue Collar Crypto is right, and this is why we're expanding on it. Before we continue more on this, just off of this, for them to list that on the site, it is absolutely huge.
Yeah, and to add to what we already shown, like with ZBCN, you can get it with any card now. Where is that at? Direct debit. Now also throw in what Uphold listed, that could be ACH with the direct deposits and whatnot. So everything's here.
Everything is here, and let's get into more of what is here. The other part mentions the rails that you use for payment processing depend on your agreement with Cross River. This is where before we did this outline and record this for you guys, I said to Rue, I said, we need to find out if Cross River, like, what other ones do they have ties with? Or is it mainly XRP? Because if the answer is it's mainly XRP, that's big in itself. Because now it's like, oh, the ties to what Zebec is doing, the plug, like this guy mentioned, Blue Collar Crypto and so on. Yeah, we love, this is community where we take things and we expand upon it. So again, the rails, Ripple's the rails, XRP's the rails, Stellar's even some of the rails, right? It's so much more than just that. It's the integration. So the rails that you use for payment processing depend on your agreement with, of course, Cross River. And it says the client support team sets up the rails during your onboarding process. Now this is good. In this guide, we'll explain how to create files correctly and how to send them to Cross River. All right, so they show examples. Here's what I like. Sometimes you guys just want to see what is referred to as like the receipts. And sometimes I take notes from other guys in the space. Like Smoke always posts the receipts of what banks are using what and what's in the code. Well, Rue and I recently talked a lot about XRP. We talked about connections, obviously, with Zebec. We talked specifically about, for example, Mark Andreessen?
Yeah.
Or actually, yes.
And we also talked about Trump talking to the Mellon family in 2016.
Right, so the Mellon family. And so we saw, for example, there was, I believe it was Mark Andreessen. So he put a lot of money in XRP very early, and he made a killing on it, right? Like I think it was $2 million he put into it, and then he became worth over $200 million. So that was like a 200 or 100x? 100x,
Okay.
Which is amazing. Everybody wants to, like Zebec, we did a 7x, and how excited are we, right?
Right.
So the way I look at it is we brought up and showed you guys numerous connections about basically a good amount of what we covered was XRP, Zebec, and so on, but it was BNY Mellon. Now, hopefully you guys remember that video, and if not, maybe we can find that other one and do it as an end screen card just in case you missed it. But whatever the case be, remember that we are talking about Cross River here, and remember also this key thing, Fedwire, written into the code. So many of you guys want to see, does it actually show these examples written into the code? So for Fedwire payments, look at this gets good. You see here the bank New York Mellon. So now we have established before with our other outlines, BNY Mellon, talking about Ripple XRP. Now we're talking about Zebec and XRP. Now we're talking about Cross River's connection to Fednow. I mean, oh my gosh, Rue. I mean, and to see literally written into the code, BNY, right? The Bank of New York Mellon. That's BNY Mellon, ladies and gentlemen. That's a major discovery, to say the least. And we're not even done with this yet. I want to get a little bit of your take before we get towards the end of wrapping this up.
So we know, I've shown it to you guys too on my channel, where Trump met with Matthew Mellon of the Mellon family in 2016. So he already knew about XRP, okay? So they're kind of dropping a little hint here in the document, Cross River is, that, hey, we already have a connection to the Bank of New York Mellon.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next part we want to get into is this, okay? So some of you guys, you know, we give you that previous example. I just want more examples about what? I want more examples about these rails, and I want more examples about Fednow. Well, boil it, mash it, stick it in a stew. What does it literally say right there? Cross River will choose for you whether will choose for you whether to use Fednow. That's an option? This is the plug? We didn't even study this stuff. It's just been sitting in the background. But they were one of the first banks. I sound excited. Who wouldn't be excited about this? We'll choose for you whether to use Fednow or an RTP, as in real-time payments. So what is an RTP? Your Ripple XRP. What is Ripple rebranded from? On-demand liquidity to what? Ripple payments via TCH. What does TCH stand for? The clearinghouse. So again, I want to give a shout out also to Stronghold, because we know with Stronghold, you have two birds with one stone, brother. Kind of like Zebec. Zebec clearly has an XRP connection. I think we more than established that. And then on top of that, they also have a Stellar connection. So in reality, Stronghold, same type of thing to a sense.
Yeah.
More focus on remittances, not so much of the payroll, right? But Stronghold, you have two key partners with Ripple, with Stellar. Part of it, the Stellar ecosystem, right? Which is awesome. And of course, just like what you see here, a plug to a clearinghouse through what? Things like Nacha. And of course, as we know, Nacha and what? Fednow. Do you see how this all comes together? Man, I feel as though this is just, boom, mind-boggling. It's not like it's speculative. There is the receipts. Go verify it for yourself. And it's basically there to give you an option of either Fednow or RTP. So either way, Rue, the utility will be used.
100% boom.
So with that said, do us a solid if you listen to the entire outline and type in this keyword, and our brother Rue gets the honor of sharing what that keyword is.
RTP, real-time payments.
Real-time payments, RTP, and we'll know that you listened to the entire outline on behalf of myself and the brother Rue over at Blackrue Investing at Blackrue. Shout out to the Rue crew.
What it do?
What it do? Know what you have. Know why you hold it. The research does trump FUD, apparently. Come on, guys.
Boom.
110%. We'll see you guys on the next one.